Hey everybody. I'm liking these live coaching calls and talking about the pros. So I should probably be smarter about it and send an email and let people know I'm going to go live. But it's kind of cool to hang out with a smaller group of people too and really help them. So if you're reading this, the topic is got decent strokes but struggling to win matches. And it's something that really hit me a couple of weeks ago when I was coaching at the club, and just noticing that you have certain people at your club who have obviously nicer strokes than a lot of other people at the club. And sometimes these types of people can, in the beginning, struggle mightily to win tennis matches. And you feel bad for them because in general, they're working harder than a lot of other players at the club because they're putting in a lot of work on their technique and they're just going an extra level than someone who, say, just, pushes the ball in and wins matches. So this video is for that type of player, where I think I'm going to really set off some alarm bells or wake-up calls for you, whether you're watching this live. If you're watching this live, please say hello. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if this is kind of you or if you know somebody like this. I see we have people joining us right now. Before I get into this, one thing that was kind of cool, I don't know if you guys know, I have a new YouTube channel called Dreamers Over 30 for people who have a passion in their life they want to follow. And I got to interview Jeff Salzenstein, and we had a great interview. So be looking out for that in about a week or so. But he is a very interesting guy. It was a lot of fun, very rewarding to talk to Jeff. But let's get into this topic right now, and please say hello. I see we have some people online. Here's what I notice is that you have people at the club who have nice strokes and they lose a lot of matches. And I know it really hurts to put the time in, and you've obviously put a lot more time into your game if you can swing the ball like this. And most people who watch you play would go, yeah, they look pretty good when they play tennis. And then you have what most people refer to as the dreaded pusher, to where they pretty much just tap the ball and they never miss, and they end up winning a lot of tennis matches. And I want to tell you why this is happening, and so maybe you don't feel so bad about yourself. What you have right now in your development is you have a lot more complex equipment than your competition does. And so even though you can do a lot more things with your equipment, it becomes harder to manage once you go out and play a match, especially if you're at that 3-0 to 4-0 level. And so it becomes harder for you to figure out how to put all the pieces together and how to put points together. In a way, your versatility, your variety, your spin that you're able to hit on the ball, your power, your options in the beginning are actually hurting your ability to win matches. Does that make sense? Because you're not only having to think about how to win a point, your technique is also at a point to where you probably have to think about exactly how to hit the shot correctly as well. It's pretty good when you go out there and practice. Sometimes you feel like your stroke is perfect. Sometimes you feel like it's on autopilot, but it still is not fully developed. If you are a 3-0 to 3-5 to 4-0 player, even though you have nice technique, and when you look around you, your technique is better than your competition, 99% chance your technique is not yet fully developed. So you are doing little things that maybe you don't notice that's technically incorrect, and your peers are not going to notice because they have no idea how to even hit a ball that looks pretty. But there's little leaks in your technique. I really like to identify what I call leaks. There's little leaks, there's inefficiencies you're doing that really come out and get exaggerated when the match gets tight, or when you play a really good point and then it's time to finally hit the finishing shot. And it gets frustrating because you're looking at someone across the net and they're beating you, and they don't really do anything. And up until a certain point, it's actually, I hate to say this, maybe a smarter way to play, especially if you want to win today. You want to win matches consistently. They just literally have to figure out how to get the ball from here to there. Just, you know, you're having to wind, you're watching the online instruction, you're setting up, you know, you're pointing your hand out, you're trying to get under the ball, you're trying to spin the ball at the right moment and come across there. That's a lot of stuff you have to do and coordinate, when your opponent, all they got to do is this: dupe, dupe. And if they have good hand-eye coordination, they can figure out a way to take your ball and just push it back. And they're comfortable with that. They don't care. They're like, I'm not going to go online and watch online instruction and figure out how to get a really nice stroke. I don't care. I just go play once or twice a week. I'm on my league. I like tennis too. I love tennis just like you, but I'm not going to go that extra mile to really learn how to get nice technique. My technique is what it is. And so I don't really have to think. I just have to tap the ball and put it in the court. And every once in a while, you know, since I've been playing for a while too, and I have these strokes, I can also put the ball away with some nice little angle shots too. So you notice a lot of people who hit the ball like this, they not only can keep the ball in play, but when it's time to win the point, they can kind of angle it off or lob it over your head, and they can do a lot of things with this. And so that's what even drives you more mad, is that they're not only just keeping the ball in play, they're like pushing you around the court with these horrible strokes. But remember, all they got to do is tap the ball. So what are your options? What are your options? And all of these answers, I think, are worth looking into. Your first option is to get even more obsessed with your technique. This is an actual good option, in that you think that you are obsessed with your technique. You think your technique is perfect, but you might need to really get together with an expert coach, whether it's somebody online like myself or Jeff or whoever, or if you got a great coach in your area, really go to them and really study your technique like crazy on video. And you got to do a lot more reps and a lot more shadow stroking, a lot of things you're probably not doing. You see a lot more progression hitting. What's interesting is the pros, even talking to Jeff, you know, Jeff, who was All-American, Stanford player, won a national title, top 100 in the world. From age 26 to 30, he was really even studying technique more and more and more. You'd figure, okay, the guy, you watch him hit, you're like, well, how could his technique get any better? So the people at the next level of what you're at, especially high-level players, they get obsessed with technique. Their technique is not going to break down in a pressure situation because their technique is just that good. So you've heard a lot of online instructors say, you know, we go back and forth between saying, like, you know, you got to improve your technique, to you don't need technique to win matches, and that's your problem. You're focusing too much on technique. Both are true. There comes a point a tipping point in tennis to where if you've got 4-5 or 5-0, hey, yeah, Jeff is great, Andrew. If you've got 4-5 or 5-0 strokes, your technique is going to be so superior to a 3-0 or 3-5 or an entry-level 4-0 player that if your technique is so superior and on autopilot, even if you're the dumbest tennis player in the world and you play stupid tennis, someone with inferior technique is, how are you doing? Hello. Someone with inferior technique is going to lose. You are going to be so overwhelming. Your serve, your forehand, your power, it's going to be so overwhelming to someone who can only do this at a certain point if you've got 4-5, 5-0, 5-5 strokes. I mean, they just can't compete with that. You know, right now, since you have nice technique, but it's not fully developed, they can keep a couple balls in, and then they can wait for your technique to break down, even though your technique is better than theirs. What they're doing is actually a lot easier to do, shot in and shot out, if you don't have fully developed perfect technique. So there's a good chance that you're looking at it and going, well, what's wrong with me? I have way better technique. I shouldn't be losing this person. Well, you're losing because your technique is not as developed as you think it is. You have to get even more obsessed and have to get even more tight to where there's just no way. You're just so superior to your opponent that you can't lose. There's no way you're going to lose to a 3-5 player anymore. That being said, that is going to take an awful lot of time to dedicate. You know, if you've got a family, you know, you've got a job, the pros, their job is to spend all day on that stuff. Yeah, thank you. Chris says what I'm saying is on point. Thank you, Chris. So some people may choose to take that option that I'm giving you right now and go, well, I freaking want like pro level technique. I want that. And I've got time, and that's what I want to do. So if you want to do that, then great. Go ahead and do that. And you will eventually blow a 3-5 player and a 4-0 player off the court because your technique is just that good. You don't even have to be a smart, intelligent tennis player. Your second option is to play smarter tennis, especially at the key moments in a point. Okay? What I find is that most recreational players who are playing someone who just pushes the ball, and you can see they clearly have better technique, they tend to lose the point at the time. It's like the climax of the point. At the time where it's time to either win or lose the point, they've usually put themselves into a position to where they can win the point. They put themselves in the winning position, and 99% of the time, they end up losing the point, which is why playing pushers and losing the pushers is so maddening. And this is where you've got to really realize and understand your limitations, that your technique is pretty good, but to be playing tennis and consistently put the ball away in the midcourt around the service line and a little bit in no man's land, to put the ball away consistently in that area of the court, pushers put you in that trap. Yeah, right. They do put you in that trap, kind of, but hear me out. I hate to say this, you're under a little bit of an illusion that your technique is perfect and that you should be making those shots. And when I'm telling you to be consistently putting the ball away in the mid-court, you've got to have perfect technique. It's very, very hard to do. If I were to train for 3 or 4 months, I could probably consistently put the ball away in the mid-court in matches. But since I coach, and if I were to ask to go play a match today, and if I got a mid-court ball and a big pressure point, I would know that my timing, that I'm not playing enough tennis because I know the difference, that my timing is not good enough to step up there and just rip a winner consistently. I could maybe do it sometimes, but for the most part, when I would get those key situations, those key decisions to win the point, I'm probably not going to try and go for a highlight shot like you might be going for. I'm probably, what I'm going to do instead is, even sometimes, Andrew, confidence plays a huge factor in perfect technique. Confidence does play a huge factor in perfect technique, but perfect technique allows you to have confidence in your stroke. And if your stroke is not perfect and you think it's good enough, but it's not, it's going to let you down. It's a mirage. A lot of people out there don't have as good a technique as they think they have to be able to execute the degree of difficulty of ending points. To consistently end points, in 1 or 2 shots, you've got to have really solid technique if you're trying to do it by blowing someone off the court. Instead, what I suggest you do is you've really got to study your opponent. And when you get that mid-court shot, you've got to make important decisions like, can I realistically hit this shot and come to the net and put the ball away in one volley? Do I have that skill set? I do have that skill set. So if I get a short ball right now, today, I go play a match. I'm not in match shape right now because I don't really practice for myself. I coach. I get that mid-court ball. Guess what I'm probably not going to do most of the time? I'm probably not going to try and crush a winner. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and go, okay, what shot does my opponent absolutely hate? What do they suck at to where I can get a volley at my Georgia logo here? If I can get a volley at my Georgia logo, I know that my volleys, even if I'm not playing a lot of tennis, are good enough to where I can put that next ball away. So I'm probably thinking of deep chip approach shots to the backhand corner. I'm thinking of short little angle approach shots to the backhand, or maybe even bring someone up on the forehand. Know what I'm pretty good at, but when I get nervous on important point, yeah, Ollie, here's what I'm trying to tell you. Everybody gets nervous, and certainly technique is not the answer always. But if you are nervous and you played a 3-5 or 4-0 player, Ollie, can you share with me what level you are? If you're playing a 3-5 or 4-0 player and you have as awesome technique as you say, as maybe you think you do, what I'm telling you is at that exact moment in the match, it's never even going to get there. You're never even going to get nervous. Your technique's going to be so much better than your opponent that you're going to just blow them off the court with great shot making that they can't even, they're not equipped to handle. It's like someone with an army fighting someone with, you know, like a stick when you have awesome technique, truly awesome technique. So Ollie's a 4-0. So he's at that level, guys. Ollie's at that level to where to win points against 4-0 and 4-5 players, you have to come up with a pretty good quality shot. And so this is where at that 4-0 level, a lot of times you're going to overextend yourself talent-wise to where you're gonna feel nervous, and you're either gonna do two things. You're either gonna go, well, it's time to really crush the ball, and I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna go for my shot because I promised myself I'm gonna hit the ball today. I'm not gonna wimp out. Or you're going to push the ball and do nothing with it because you're too afraid to do anything with it. And what I'm telling you, what you should start to do under pressure situations, if you are someone who likes to work on technique and has pretty good technique, the shots that I find easiest to hit for me under a pressure situation is a nice slice backhand approach shot and actually a chip forehand approach shot. I think since we watch so much TV, we're thinking on the forehand side, we always have to hit the ball. And if we don't hit the ball, we're losers and it's not effective. I will tell you that if you go play a 4-0 player like yourself, Ollie, and you have a good chip forehand approach shot and you know where to put it on the court to where they don't like to hit it, you will always, I wouldn't say always, 90% of the time, you're going to have a nice chest high volley that you can put away. So the skills that you really need to develop, if you're somebody who looks across the court and you go, I am better technically than my opponents, and why am I losing to them? What you have to do to really get to that next level to where you start to eliminate those people is you either have to, A, really develop your net game and your approach shot, or B, when you get that shot to where you should put the ball away, and this is probably a less developed, this is something that you probably don't want to do but will be super effective. Give them a short ball on purpose and make them come in and pass them, because they're probably not good at ending the point either, and they're probably even less effective at it than you are. So when you're feeling the nerves, you either have to have the confidence to have a great chip approach shot that can get a high volley. And if you have good finishing skills, that's the way to go. I constantly only just hit it long all the time, and I try and hit the ball hard. It goes way out, but the ball goes just long nearly every point. Yeah, you see, so, well, if it goes just long, you just need a little more racket head speed and making sure that the edge of your racket is facing forward and really get under it. But what I'm telling you, if you're somebody who hits the ball way out when the score is close, it's because it's so hard to get the confidence to stroke out on the ball with full acceleration, especially when you don't have your technique consistently on point. I mean, the pros, they practice that mid-court ball all day long. They're like machines. It takes a lot of timing. You guys don't understand. To sit back and rally, it's a lot easier to sit back and rally timing-wise than to run up to the ball, prepare, get your legs set, and hit it to where your opponent's barely going to get the ball back. It's a lot easier to take that pressure off yourself, see the ball, take your time with the ball, basically go into what they're doing to you. They're just pushing the ball. This is why they're beating you, because they don't have to do much. So do that for yourself under pressure situations. Come up to the ball and go, I don't have to do much. I just got to get my racket here, push in, squeeze the racket a little bit, get some stick on that ball, keep it low, and I'm going to get a put away volley. Or if you're not good at the net, be honest with yourself and go, okay, I got the ball that I know I should put away. I'm actually going to bring them in, drop back, and pass them. Those are two plays that I guarantee you, if you start doing in your matches, when the pressure's on, you're going to win a lot more of those points. How many hours a day should you practice to be a great player? It's a couple things. It's you know, how much time you got, you know, as much time as possible, but it's also, what are you doing with your time? You know, who's your coach? Are you doing shadow strokes off the court? Are you videoing yourself and picking apart, honestly, every leak in your game? You know, how physically fit are you? Are you thinking about strategy? Things like that. So I just wanted to come on and give you guys that advice, because I think it's extremely important. And I know it's frustrating. And I see it over and over again, to where I see players who are superior to their competition as far as technique wise. And even in the rally, for the most part, you are superior. But where you are inferior as far as to your opponent, because now all your opponent has to do is either call the ball out because you're too nervous and you're missing. This is what your opponent has to do. Call the ball out, or when you come on in, maybe they're a good counterpuncher and can put the ball at your feet, or they can lob over your head. That's all they have to think about. And so what they're thinking when they're playing you is keep the ball in, keep the ball in, keep the ball in. Oh, here they come to the net, lob them. So they don't have to think about, you know, constructing the point, moving the opponent around, still keeping the technique going, the perfect form. They're not having to think about all that. So their job is just way easier than your job. Does this make sense? So you're most likely going to routinely get yourself into a winning position. And rather than put the pressure on yourself to do something that's incredibly hard, and you always think the sitter, you know, how many times have you said to yourself, I blew that sitter again. I blew that sitter again. You don't understand how hard it is to consistently put a sitter away. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to put a sitter away. Don't underestimate how hard that is, how much timing it takes, how everything has to go right for you. And so I would use my superior technique to my opponent and set up points, and then make it a more simple technique to finish the point. Thank you, Badminton Club. I love your instruction very much. Thank you for the excellent work as a badminton player and a tennis player in Tennessee. Very cool. Well, maybe someday we'll meet each other, because I'm just your next door neighbor, basically. So there you go, guys. Are there any questions? If you like this, please give this a thumbs up. I just wanted to make this video before I actually got ready and went to go teach myself. But it's something that's been on my mind lately about the frustration of I know what you guys are feeling. And when you look across the net, you're wondering, well, how am I losing this person? Maybe this makes a little more sense. And maybe you're realizing that there's not as much wrong with you and your game as you think. That what they're doing, if they have good hand-eye coordination skills, they're basically playing a simpler brand of tennis. And what should keep you going is that the people who come online, to me, you guys are obsessed with tennis. You're a different breed. You're not going to be satisfied just being a 3-0 or a 3-5 player your whole life. The people who you're or a low 4-0, the people who you are playing against, they don't have any aspirations of moving to the next level. They know what wins at their level. They know what their game is. So they're not in search mode. They're not in questioning mode. They're not questioning their games. They're not questioning their talent. They're not going through as much mental angst as you are, because they don't invest in much. They don't invest as much as you do into their game. They're like, my game is what my game is. They'll laugh about it. Like, I know I just keep the ball in play, but I have fun doing that. And I love being on my 3-5 team. I don't want to be a 4-0, 4-5, 5-0 player. Where I think most people online, you guys are going, I want to start dominating at my level, and I want to get to the next level, and then I want to figure out how to fit in at that level, and then I want to dominate that level, and then I want to get to the next level. Is that fair to say? Is that what most people online kind of feel? And you guys are also more about the journey of like, you know, even if I could win this way, I don't want to win this way. I want to develop, you know, professional looking strokes. And I say, keep going for it. Keep going for it, guys. And then when you get to the tough situations in a match, realize that your strokes, do you still compete in local tournaments? No, I do not compete in local tournaments, Diego. I was a pretty decent junior in my day, state champion, nationally ranked junior, played Division I college tennis. But, you know, every day I become a much better coach and a worse player every day. And I'm totally fine with that. Still love to hit the ball, still love to have fun hitting the ball. But I'm more here to help you guys who still have the passion to go out there and play and compete and try and win matches. And this is one of the biggest things that I observe from people who are frustrated losing the people that they shouldn't lose to, is they always put themselves in the winning position. And when it's time to put the ball away, they try things that are a little bit above their head at the moment. I'm not telling you guys that it's always going to be above your head. What I'm telling you is that to consistently put away mid-court balls, your technique, you have to know in your heart of hearts, your technique, your timing, your fitness, your footwork, to make those mid-court shots, you've got to be on point. You've got to be on point, okay? You can't be pretty good at it. You have to be awesome at it. Otherwise, you're just going to miss too many shots. Great underrated channel. Hope and wish you success, Coach. Thank you, Diego. So that is pretty much it for today. So just to recap, the next time you go out and play somebody who has an inferior game in your mind to you, you're looking at across the net and you're going, my strokes are way better. I should be killing this person. Work on your approach shot, chip shots. Ask yourself right now, I'll answer that in a second, Andrew, what made me get into coaching. Answer that right now and go, how good is my forehand chip? Is my forehand, and I think you'll be able to develop a pretty awesome forehand chip shot. Not to say that it doesn't require work and a lot of timing too, but I think it's easier once you develop it to keep it. You know, once you get it, it's going to be easier for you to keep in your arsenal, where crushing a forehand winner is always going to require maintenance, constant maintenance, like owning a Ferrari. You're always, it can do so much for you, but you always have to take care of it constantly. So if you don't have that kind of time, really develop great chip approach shots, balls that not just you can go have slice on it, but I'm talking about a ball that when it hits, it jumps at the opponent and it stays as close to the ground as possible. If you can do that, your opponent is going to be forced to hit up. And so you're going to get this right here. Okay. Hugh said, this is so topical. Thanks for sharing the advice. Andrew asked, what made me get into coaching? Okay, so here's how I got into coaching. I played tennis at American University in Washington, and I was the assistant coach for a semester after I graduated, and I really, really loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. This is tennis therapy. Awesome. And I said, so this is what I want to do with my life. And then our rivals, East Carolina, the coach called me that summer and asked if I would be his assistant head coach. And also he had a job lined up for me to be a head pro at just a small little club. And, you know, ever since then, I've loved coaching. I've gotten in and out of coaching, but I've been in it more than I've been out of it. So in my mid-30s, I got out of it for just a little bit, but I love it. So, and I certainly love the online thing. I couldn't be out on the court, just to be honest, grinding on the court, teaching 40 to 50 hours a week. I couldn't do that. So I like the idea of doing this for a good amount of my day, and then, you know, teaching on the court anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day. That keeps me fresh. That allows me to give the most quality to my students, and I love doing it. So thank you for your question. I will take one more question. Please like this video before you leave. We need to have a battle of the Internet Coaches event. I think that would be awesome. It'd be fun. Is it like what I would like to do, rather than, here's what I would like to do, Sean, rather than go, who's the best player, I would like to have somebody with bad technique and see who could make the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time. It'd be kind of hard to do because, you know, after one person has a crack at them and the next person, so it's almost impossible to do that. Thanks, Pete. How do you stand there and tell me that shot I tried was beyond my skill level? Yeah, so that's true. So I think you were making a joke there. I'm not sure, but anyway, what was I going to say, guys? Oh, battle the Internet Coach. I think that's a great. Actually, I'm going to go in June. I'm going to meet with Essential Tennis. But if I were to put my money on who are the best players, and I really don't. It's really not important to me, to be honest. But I would certainly say probably the top players are Jeff Salzenstein, for sure. And the top tennis training boys are probably the best players. Brady looks pretty darn good too. Brady from Daily Tennis. I don't think I want any part of his serve. I would imagine they would probably be the best players. I think I'm up there, at least technique-wise. I think that's one thing for you guys is I was a pretty good player back in my day. I certainly don't even consider myself a tennis player at this point. I consider myself a coach. But I do know technique-wise that, you know, I developed some pretty solid technique. So when you see me do a demonstration, I know I still look pretty good. And it will help you if you study it. Kevin Garlington, yeah, he looks like a pretty good player too. He definitely looks like a good player. Okay, guys. Ollie, hey, his Jeff lefty serve is amazing. Yeah, Jeff's serve is, I mean, Jeff's an awesome player. Look, the guy played Michael Chang at the US Open. I'm not even going to pretend to say that I was even close to that. So I was the guy. Jeff, I just found out that he's a year younger than me. So I should have asked him if he knows some of the people that I played against. But I mean, Jeff was one of the top in the nation. I was one of those going to the national tournaments. You know, I guess I was like a journeyman junior player, you know, like Jeff was a journeyman pro. I was a big fish in a small pond in my area. And then when I went to go play nationals, you know, I was a journeyman junior player at national tournaments. But I did break, like Jeff, I did break the top 100 nationally. Anyway, that was in juniors, by the way, not pros. That is it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging on. Thanks for your likes. Follow ABC Approach Shot of the Approach Shot. Okay, I like that. And so with that mindset of always be closing, I'm always going to close. And you guys have a great day. I thank you so much for all your comments. I do got to get going, though. I've got to actually get on the road here. Wow. And get to my lessons. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Like this video, comment, If you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, make sure you do so, and we'll see you.